Hello everyone and welcome to your new favorite YouTube channel. So as you can see today, we're going to be talking about the title of this video, the Barbie movie. And while I'm going to tell you about the Barbie movie, I'm going to do my makeup because I got somewhere to be and I'm going to kill two birds with one stone. How you feel about that? So if you haven't been living under a rock, the Barbie movie got $1 billion at the box office. I mean, who didn't expect that from Barbie? And the star of the movie was Margot Robbie and what's his name? Ryan Gosling, I think. Ryan Reynolds. One of the Ryans. I can't quite remember, child. So, and first things first is, did I like the movie? Yes, and I'm going to tell you why. So, if anything, it was just outrageously hilarious. Next thing that we're going to go into is how thought-provoking the movie was supposed to be. Barbie is a feminist. Barbie has always been about feminism. So I was not shocked that when I walked into the theater or watching the little promotional interviews for it, that it was going to be some feminism. I mean, you would have been pretty much an idiot to walk into a Barbie movie and think it wasn't going to be about feminism, because it is. And that has always been Barbie's message, just to let women know that they can be more than housewives and mothers, that they can be anything that they want. That's always been her message. That's the entire reason of why she was created in the first place. If you didn't know, the creator of Barbie is Ruth Handler, and she named the doll after her daughter, Barbara Handler, to give her daughter a different role model to look up to, because back then, I mean, women didn't really have role models, because back then they weren't really allowed to work. So, but I did have some hiccups in the movie, and I'm gonna tell you why. So, my issue with the movie is that it paints feminism in a weird light, because the true definition of feminism is the equality of both the sexes. Not that women are automatically better than men and women don't need men. That is what today's society and feminism has transformed the word into, when that's never what it was really about. And so as soon as the movie starts off, you know, everybody's dancing around, they're happy singing and whatnot, you know, every day is a perfect day. It's what the movie kind of paints the light of Barbie's world is supposed to be. Barbie Land, you know, all of the dolls live a perfect life every single day with no issues, no problems. You know, the air is always clean, the food is always good, no additives, no preservatives. The water isn't Flint, Michigan water, it's Brita filtered. It's amazing. And Barbie Land is initially just ran by all of the female Barbies, while the Ken dolls are just there as accessories, which is what I've always kind of seen Ken as anyway. I've always seen Ken as just an accessory to Barbie. He never really had his own type of identity. One fateful day, you know, the stereotypical Barbie, which is literally her name in the movie, they call her stereotypical Barbie. Don't come for me, because that is literally what they named her in the movie, stereotypical Barbie. So Barbie then starts, you know, noticing that everything in her life is a little too perfect, and her mind starts to wander a little bit. Food doesn't taste the same. You know, her feet are no longer in this perfect arch position to fit into her heels. And one night during the whole, you know, festival that they do every night, they dance around before they go to bed, she utters the words, "Have you guys ever thought about dying?" Which is obviously a shock to all the rest of the dolls, because we're dolls, we don't die, so that's the reason why it kind of freaked everyone out. So after that incident, another Barbie who experienced the same things that she was experiencing, you know, the food not tasting the same, and her feet falling into flat foot position and not the beautiful arch that it always is. And Weird Barbie tells her that it's because whatever human is playing with you, they're depressed. So their emotions are now your emotions. And so, you know, after she's being told this, that she needs to go find this little depressed girl and make her happy so she can stop feeling depressed, she travels to the real world to go meet the girl. And lo and behold, Ken travels along with her because his life means nothing without her. That's foreshadowing for later. So, and as soon as they get to the real world, Barbie realizes why the woman is so depressed. Because as soon as she gets there, she's sexually harassed. A man slaps her on the buttocks. They're catcalling her. They're doing all types of, you know, stuff that everyday men do. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I mean, hey, a man's gonna be a man. But Ken, however, is noticing, you know, how great the real world is for men. And that's another political thing that was thrown into the movie of the patriarchy. Ken figured out what the patriarchy was. He's fascinated by the patriarchy because Ken comes from a matriarchy, a world that is ruled by women, and his existence doesn't quite matter without his woman. Obviously, Ken is completely fascinated by this new world where men rule it all and women come secondhand instead of him always being secondhand. And while Ken is off learning about horses and monster trucks and beer pong, Barbie eventually does find supposedly the little girl that is depressed. As soon as Barbie steps into the frame and asks the little girl, "Why are you so upset?" and blah, 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 blah. And I mean, she just lays into Barbie. "You're bad for women. You're with the patriarchy and blah, 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 blah." And then she calls Barbie a fascist. That's why I've literally almost lost my mind. I was like, she really just sat over here and called Barbie a fascist? And whoever this little girl is, because I can't even remember her name, that's just how much she irritated me throughout that film. She was just a bratty teenager to be a bratty teenager. And then she's just a complete butt wipe to her mom for no reason at all. I'm guessing like that's just how American movies think all teenagers react to their parents, or that's just how they think teenagers are in general towards adults. I never had that experience growing up as a kid. I wasn't just rebellious because I was a teenager. That just never was a thing. I wasn't mad at my mom and dad for no reason. I just didn't do that. I never understood this. I'm guessing that's just something that's always going to be in film. It just didn't make sense to have it in this movie. It just didn't make sense to me. Then later on, we find out that it's actually her mom who's been playing with Barbie and the one that is depressed. And one of the things that causes her depression, lo and behold, it's her bitch of a daughter. I mean, I had to say it. That is literally one of the reasons, and she explains it in the movie of why she's depressed, because her daughter's a bitch for no reason. And I was like, okay, so it's not just me. It's not just me on the outside looking in. It's even confirmed in the movie that the little girl is just a bitch to be a bitch. So, and then we move on to Barbie, fleeing to Mattel headquarters. Well, not fleeing to Mattel headquarters. They actually kidnapped her in some way and tried to put her back in her box and send her back to Barbie Land. But she's like, no. She was like, we need to figure out why the world is so horrible and blah, 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 blah. Which I'm kind of just like, okay. And a whole while they're doing this whole little chase sequence of Barbie, Ken has went back to Barbie Land and he's brought the patriarchy back to Barbie Land with him. So now all of the Barbies are supposedly under the brainwashing of the patriarchy, which actually didn't quite make sense because the Barbies were actually happy under the patriarchy. I mean, one of them even said, "Oh my God, I'm so glad that I'm not in charge anymore. It's fun to wind down and not think about every little decision I have to make." So the movie was battling quite a lot with feminism and, finding oneself, and also family drama. And the patriarchy, it just did it. It was trying to make too many points at one time in such a small amount of time. So they make it back to Weird Barbie's house, and they're trying to find a way to get all the Barbies from under the patriarchy brainwashing. And the mom character, can't remember her name, because honestly, the movie could have still made its point without the mom and the daughter. I felt like they were just characters just to be there. The story could have moved along even without them. But I was just so off-put. By the daughter. I mean, I just really wanted her to go. I just really did. And the mom was trying to be too cringe relatable. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, but her awkwardness is, I think, what they were trying to portray, like, every person to be nowadays. We're all just a little kooky and a little weird, and everybody is a little depressed and anxiety filled. It just didn't sit right with me. It was just a very odd take to have. And then the mom character proceeds to get her ass up on the stand in front of everyone and just tell them how hard it is to be a woman, which she recycled this speech that I've seen on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok for so long. You can be a boss, but don't be a bitch. You can be nice, but don't be a pushover. You can have big boobs, but don't show them off. I was just really irritated by that whole Tumblr thread speech that she gave, because I have been seeing that since the height. Well, I'm not going to say the height of feminism, because the feminism movement didn't start till like the 80s. But I was just really annoyed at how they grabbed this speech from Tumblr that has been said a bajillion times since 2010. It just really bothered me just that bad. So then they proceed to do all of the Barbies unbrainwashing from the patriarchy to then, take back their matriarchy. So they put all of the Kens against each other so they can go to the courthouse and rewrite all the laws back into their favor or something like that, which kind of made no sense to me. I didn't understand that part, because never once did they show, or at least maybe I'm forgetting, maybe I'm lying. I don't remember a scene of the Kens being at the Capitol changing laws into their favor. I don't remember that scene, but if it was, oopsie daisies on my part. And then so the Kens break out into song and dance while they're trying to reclaim the Capitol. And after the Kens realize what's happened, they go back to the dream houses, which they had changed to Ken's Mojo Dojo Casa House, which two of those words mean house. Kind of showing how dumb men are supposed to be, I guess. That was the whole thing of this movie, to show how dumb men were in some light. But, which I honestly will say, Mojo Dojo Casa House does have a ring to it, and it did sound pretty cool. I know they're trying to make fun of them being dumb, but that was actually pretty cool. But then again, maybe that's because I'm a man. So I'm just dumb by default because I'm a man. So after they, take back the place, Ken has this revelation. He's wondering, trying to figure out who he is without Barbie. And then Barbie somewhat gives him permission to exist. She just says, "You're just Ken. You don't need me." And blah, 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 blah. And that was it. When the entire movie was Ken struggling to figure out who he was without Barbie. And all it took was for her to sit there and say, "I don't need you and you don't need me." Barbie was wondering, where does my story start and where does it end? And Ruth tells her, you're never meant to end. I want you to live forever. And she's like, oh dear God. So she was like, no, I want to go to the real world and experience death, pretty much is what she said. That's not exactly what she said, but it's pretty much what she said. She wanted to live in the real world. It was either live in the doll world and live forever, a perfect life forever, or go to the real world and, experience all these horrible things that frightened you, just 2 hours ago. So of course, which one that she told. And then the movie ends with her making a joke about how she's going to see the gynecologist for the first time because she became a real person today. And as we all know, dolls are not anatomically correct. At least Barbies aren't. So now that I pretty much summed up the movie and just explained the entire thing to you, I want to tell you my honest thoughts about it. My honest thoughts are that it was funny, but the movie never really made a point because it was trying to do too many things at one time. For instance, the mother-daughter quarrel that was just really unneeded. I don't understand this whole thing of that teenage kids need to argue with their parents as soon as they become teenagers. It's just really stupid. And to get this whole thing about, you know, I know more than everyone else because I'm a teenager. I'm getting so sick and tired of that trope and that motif. It's getting really tiring. Like I said, about after halfway through the movie of them introducing the mother, I said the mother because I wanted to say mother and father, but lo and behold, ain't no father in the picture. So after, you know, halfway through the mother, I was going to say it again, the mother and the father. So again, halfway through, when the mother and daughter are introduced into the film, I kind of just lost track of them because they weren't significant pieces to the story anymore. The movie could have really just went away without them because, you know, after Barbie, you know, comes up and shows the girl that, you know, you're depressed and I need you to be happy. And then they take her back to Barbie Land. Barbie was going to go back to Barbie Land on her own anyway. There was no need for them to tread along with her. It just didn't make any sense. It seemed like they just added these characters just to add them. But needless to say, the film just kind of went too many places and never really ended anywhere or never found a good stopping point. The random bickering between her and her mom, I don't know why that's just the biggest point of the movie that just really bothered me. It's because that little girl came out the gates hella strong and never had a redeeming arc for me throughout that entire movie. She was just labeled a bitch from then on to me. Just because she called Barbie a fascist, just right out of the gate. I'm like, goddamn. That was a little much. That was a little too hardcore. And then they were trying to sell the fact that the patriarchy is good for no one and how bad it was when it came to Barbie Land, when actually all of the Barbies were happy. So if the movie's point was to make it that the patriarchy was bad, it failed because the Barbies were actually happy. In the real world, of course, the women are not happy about the patriarchy, but in the Barbie world, they were. They were happy that they didn't have to be in control, that there was someone else not necessarily telling them what to do, but allowing them to do whatever they want to do, in a sense of not having a responsibility per se. However, then again, I feel as though the movie was also trying to poke fun at feminism and patriarchy and being woke all at the same time, but it kind of also still didn't. If it was supposed to be a satirical film, then of course, I get it. I love satire. But the points that they were trying to make just never really came full circle, if you get what I mean. Overall, I just give the movie a solid 7. I wouldn't go see it again. I mean, once was enough for me. It got me where I needed to be. And also, it was just a little too liberal for my taste. I'm sorry. If it was supposed to be satirical, then absolutely. I love satire. But this movie just took it to a point where it was just too overwhelming for me. It was just too much at my face. You know, I thought the film was going to go more on, you know, just the history of Barbie. I never thought that they were going to go to the real world until I saw some trailers, some leaks, like when it was first filming. But when I first actually heard about it, I didn't think they were going to go to the real world. I was like, oh my God, it's going to be a Barbie movie. We're going to learn about Barbie, all the different dolls and stuff. And, you know, it's just going to be a comedic film, but just set in a Barbie world. And it was nothing of the sort. And that is what upsetted me about this movie. I really was expecting jokes about, you know, the other dolls like Monster High and Bratz and Rainbow High dolls, which are the new poppin' is it thing. Rainbow High is still it because the fashion, baby. If you have not seen fashion on Rainbow High dolls and Shadow High dolls, you missing out. And so, in conclusion, I mean, the movie was just okay. I don't think it's a movie for kids, which I don't understand why they're trying to push it as a kids movie and saying that kids need to go see this, because there are a bunch of double entendres and political speeches that are made that an 8-year-old doesn't know. An 8-year-old doesn't know what misogyny is, or the patriarchy, or a matriarchy, or what most of the freaking movie was even talking about. I just really do hate how they made so many points, but none of them got really resolved. You know, Ken was sitting up here trying to find himself for the longest, and all he needed was for Barbie to say, "You don't need me." That was it. That's all it took. It was also like pointing at men's health and, you know, women's health, about how hard it is to be a mom in this world and make it as a woman in the world, period, because there is expected so much of them. But yet that same point can be made about men. You know, he has to make 6 figures. I mean, we guys see it all the time on especially freaking TikTok. Dear Lord, all these TikTok speeches and stuff that people do. A man has to make 6 figures. He needs to be over 6 feet tall as well. He needs to have rippling abs. He needs to wear a suit every day. Because God forbid, I mean, if he just wears a freaking tank top and some jeans, then he has no money, or, you know, he doesn't take care of himself. But then also, as a man, you can't take care of yourself too much, because then people will think you're gay. And then if you are gay, they expect you to be super duper gay. And then if you're super duper gay, they want you to be like the down low type of gays. I don't. So the same speech that she made about how hard it is to be a woman the same thing can be said about being a man, but it wasn't made. But which also makes sense, because I mean, it's a woman's movie, so why would we dare talk about men's problems? And now for the really controversial part of it. I think that Ryan Gosling, or Ryan Reynolds, whichever one he is, he should not have played Ken. Ken is supposed to be somewhat of a pretty boy, and Ryan doesn't have the pretty boy look. Ryan just didn't do it for me as the pretty boy. Ken's supposed to be a pretty boy. Ryan doesn't give off pretty boy. And he looks horrible in bleached blonde hair and no facial hair. I'm so sorry, but it just looked horrible. And the makeup in this movie was very subpar. I think the only person who had really good makeup was the Barbie with the red hair and Issa Rae, who was President Barbie. Why did Margaret Robbie just sit over here and have 3 coats of mascara and 2 dabs of blush, and that was it? Barbie should have looked something like this. I'm sorry, but Barbie should have looked something like this. Big lashes, lots of pink eyeshadow, and the little white waterline, which is the reason why I chose to do this look today. Because I feel like this is somewhat of what Barbie should have had. Not this drag queen contour, but everything else. Makeup just really missed the mark for me in this movie. I just didn't understand why the main character had so little to no makeup at all. When she's supposed to be Barbie, I mean, they didn't have to make her stuff look as harsh as mine, or lashes as big as mine. But I've seen so many inspired Barbie looks all over Instagram and TikTok promoting the movie that looked a lot better than what they put out. Oh my goodness, I look like a drowned rat. And I'm going to continue looking like a drowned rat because I need more. However, props to set deck and costumes, because the costumes looked amazing. And the set decorators and the construction guys who built the sets, the dream houses looked amazing. Like, everything looked really good, eye-catching wise, except for the freaking makeup on Margaret Robbie, which is the freaking star of the movie. Just didn't make sense why Barbie only had 3 coats of mascara and 2 dabs of blush. Just really didn't make sense. Alright, everyone, and that's all I have for you today. And this is the completed Barbie-inspired makeup look. And all of my socials will be linked down in the description box below, or they will be somewhere up in the corners. One of these corners, maybe all the corners, or maybe just right here in the middle of my face. I don't know.